example, when we talk about Iran, because I'm thinking very much that Mohammad Javad Zarif, the foreign minister, said, look, no country has won, this is a kind of draw. But this idea that Iran is being rewarded, even though it's not being asked to change its behaviour in any way other than in the nuclear programmes. Kenneth Pollock, former official at the US National Security Council, says the Iranians tend to back Shia populations and they often incite them to violence and provide them with the wherewithal to do so. As a result, the Iranians have become deeply embroiled in the civil wars of the region.
Well, that's true, and it's also true in an equal and opposite way so far as Saudi Arabia is concerned, which is embroiled on the other way. But the question, it's a given that Iran, the leader of the minority Shia community within the Muslim world, should have a natural association and affinity with the other Shia communities in the Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq and along the Gulf, as well as in the western part of Afghanistan. That's just a given. The question is, how do you engage with Iran in those circumstances?
Sorry, can I just interrupt you there? A given that they'll engage with Shia, sympathise and empathise. What even President Bashar al-Assad, an Alawite, which is an offshoot of Shiism, who is responsible for the bulk of deaths, 250,000 in Syria, and he is a key ally of the Iranians. Well, that's understandable, is it, within the context of Shia
as a matter of loyalty? Social and geographic loyalties and historic connections, yes, and that's not in the least to excuse President Assad and his brutal regime.
And his allies, the Iranians, because we've got the Revolutionary Guard who are fighting on the ground alongside Assad. And
his allies, although the Syrian conflict, as you know, is incredibly complicated, because you've also got the Assad regime being supported by the Shia, yes, but also by the Christians, who feel far more under threat from the Sunni, and some Sunni business people as well. Now, the question is not, are you going to break these long-standing historic social and ethnic connections? What do you do about them? And you're far more likely, from my own long experience of dealing with Iran and with other countries, to be able to deal constructively with a country like Iran and get Iran to help if Iran is around the table. If you, for example, you want some political solution to the Syrian civil war, which for sure we do, you've got to have Iran round the table, and by the by, also Russia. And the first Geneva Accords on Syria were doomed to failure because the British government and the United States government decided to exclude Iran from that. So, and the reverse is also true. If Iran is round the table, they've already made it clear, and so has Russia, that yes, Assad will have to be part of the solution in terms of the agreement, but as soon as there has been a peace, the Assad family's future will lie elsewhere, and they will be pretty brutal about that.
But you talk about the need to have Iran at the table, and we'll just look at the regional impact then of the implications of Iran coming in from the cold, because Saudi Arabia, of course, the major Sunni Arab or the Sunni Muslim force in the region, huge rivalry with the Iranians, and we see all kinds of proxy wars being played out between the two of them, the Iranians backing the Houthis in the Yemen civil war, Syrians, as we just discussed already, and, you know, all sorts of rivalries in the region. The Saudis are jolly unhappy about this rapprochement.
Yes, they are, and I think one of the reasons why President Obama pushed this rapprochement is precisely to make the Saudis unhappy. It may sound odd, but I think that there was real anxiety in Washington and in a lot of European capitals about the direction of travel of the Saudi regime and its potential instability. And I believe that part of the sub-agenda of these talks and this rapprochement has been to secure a different balance of power in the Gulf. And if the West is able to achieve, it won't be an alliance with Iran, but normal business with Iran, and is able to use them in terms of foreign policy as well, that will make relations with Saudi Arabia more balanced. And I think
is that a strategy you back? Have Iran as a counterweight to Saudi Arabia?
Absolutely.
You do? Why? Do you believe that the West, including the United Kingdom, is too close to Saudi Arabia?
I think it needs to be rebalanced, and I think that if it is rebalanced, it will help those elements in Saudi Arabia who want to see Saudi Arabia internally reformed, just as the process of